Listener discretion is advised.
Okay. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
It leaks out every now and then.
It sure does, and that's because it's modeled after our moms, which is very fitting for this week's episode. By the way, I'm Kenyon. Who cares?
I'm Lucy. Who cares?
I'm Amanda. I'm all right with it.
But
I've come to terms with it.
I'm just so jazzed about this week's topic that I just want to get right.
It's good.
Into
Let's
it.
do
We
this.
should have had our moms in for it.
We should have.
How on earth would we have coordinated
Yeah, my
that?
mom doesn't have an Uber phone.
No.
I couldn't even begin to figure out how to get her podcasting.
My sister could have helped my mom figure it out.
Yeah.
But alas, here we are.
Yeah.
What's the topic?
The topic is brought to you by our very special fan picker, Olivia Windorf.
You are the Windorf beneath our wings.
You are. In honor of her amazing mom, Ellen, Olivia has selected the topic of mom crimes.
Not regular mom crimes, cool mom crimes.
One time, Amanda was dating this man. He didn't last long. He was brief.
I'm going to see if
You're
I can
not
figure out
narrowing
who
it
it is
down.
from this story. Here
You
we
know
go.
this story. You were there. And she was talking on the phone with him, was it? And what did he say? Something about, he said something and you relate it to me. And I thought you were talking about our friend Blortney, who is a mom.
Oh.
And I was,
Such a mom.
my reaction was, such a mom.
So
you were
cute.
like, it's the man I'm dating?
I think it's her current partner.
It's
No.
not. This was prehistoric Bill.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Pre-Bill. I
Pre-Bill.
remember who you're talking about now. We won't bring him up.
PB.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, but he said something so Midwestern.
It was very
mom-ish.
momish.
It was
Kenyon
such a
was
mom.
not paying attention. She just goes, "Oh, she's such a mom." And Amanda
It's
was
like,
like,
yes.
"Who do you think I'm?"
That man I'm
talking
having
about.
sex with currently was totally such a mom. Turned out to be a shitty mom and a real dick. But, moms
Yeah.
are people too. They make mistakes,
Yeah.
as I'm sure we'll get to.
So anyway, such a mom. Moms love wine. At
Yeah.
least ours do. So let's get right to the wine crime pairing for mom crimes.
First, I just want to make something very clear. I am not drinking today because I was drunk the last 2.5 days in a row.
Wait, you drank yesterday too after your big
Yeah.
hangover?
Yeah.
Why?
Sometimes a little hair of the dog helps. I just took a shot.
I make mistakes frequently, and this was one of them. I'm actually shockingly okay today, but I know that if I have wine right now, I'll be barfing halfway through this episode. So I'm drinking chai, which is such a mom move.
It is. That mug is such a mom.
My mom-in-law got me this mug. Nance. Thanks, Nance. So Nance and Bob and Nance, my sister's in-laws.
My God.
I just call my in-laws
Bob and
Nance. Took
Your
the camper out to
in-laws
visit
are actually
them.
just your sister's in-laws.
Yeah, they belong to me too.
Okay.
But Olivia paired today's episode on our behalf with Mommy's Timeout Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
It is available at Total Wine, so you should be able to find it at a store near you. And this is an Italian blend of classic Pinot Grigio and Garganega, which
Bless
is
you.
a white Gesundheit, which is a white Italian wine grape that's widely grown in the Veneto region of northeast Italy, or Veneto, I don't know. Veneto, potato. Particularly in the provinces of Verona and Vicenza. It is Italy's 6th most
Vicenza.
widely planted. It's Vicenza. It's Italy's 6th most widely planted white grape and is commonly seen on its own or blended in Italian wines. Lucy's the one on a time constraint, so I'm going to keep going while she continues
I
to
know.
interrupt.
I'm glad.
This
Thank you.
delicate and
Trick-or-treaters
fruity
coming
wine
soon.
is a sure pick-me-up for anyone who's had a long, busy day. And any of the moms in your life. The bouquet has notes of pear, citrus, and almonds, and the first impression upon tasting it is crisp and refreshing, with the garganega adding body to the mid-palate and length of the finish. That's what she said.
Oh.
Lucy, you want to crack her
Length
open
to the finish.
so I don't garga gaga?
Here we go. Are you ready? I saved my hand lotion till after this.
Get that grip. Get a real mom grip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh! Deafening crack.
Maternal crack.
Nice.
Deep
crack.
crack.
I forgot a glass, so.
Get it.
Actually, how is your crack? Lucy hurt her crack.
Okay,
recently.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I forgot my U-shaped airplane pillow in the other room. So if you see me shifting a lot, that's why.
She
Yeah.
bumped her tailbone, and it is
Mhm.
devastatingly bruised.
The bruise is just a black.
It looks like a pool of Pinot Noir in your butt crack.
But like
we
right
woke
at the
up
very
to a
top.
very zoomed in photo of Lucy's ass.
Not that
And
zoomed
this-
in.
Just the crack, and just at the right at the very
Full
top is just
moon.
a really dark, but like, and like
Stain.
it's not even like, yeah, like the outline is just very sharp.
Mhm.
It's like it's like a Hershey's Kiss melted in my butt
Poop.
crack.
It's like poop.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god. Okay, moving on.
All
but
right.
anyway, yeah,
Well,
I'm
cheers.
fine.
Cheers
fell.
to
It's
nice
fine.
cracks and
Yep.
painful cracks.
But also, PSA, be really careful wearing socks for the first time this season, walking down your carpeted stairs or running down your carpeted stairs because your Morningstar buffalo chicken nugs are burning, because that
Yum.
is exactly what happened to me. I smelled it. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm still wearing my socks.
There's no time. There's no time.
I fell on my ass.
Ass.
And it hurt enough that I cried in pain as a grown adult. So if that just tells you anything.
Yeah.
Tells
Okay,
me a
so-
lot.
I covered mommy issues in our daddy crimes episode, and I also covered breastfeedings in our dairy crimes episode. So I didn't really know where to go with mom crimes. So here's just a random smattering of interesting like mom things. So I first started by Googling mom.
Mhm.
And the first thing that popped up was this fucking article from the New York Post that was like relatively recent.
I hate the New York Post.
Yep.
Well, this
a
wasn't the only
garbage
source. This was the most
publication.
salacious
Okay.
quotes. So this is a thing, I promise. Contact tracing is critical to learning more about how the deadly coronavirus spreads, but a group of Utah parents say it's a nuisance.
That was what came up when you Googled mom.
Oh, there's so much more. They're encouraging families to stop testing their children in an effort to keep schools open.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
for fuck's sake.
The movement to reduce testing among school children began on Facebook. Where else?
Of course it did. The breeding ground of all the worst things in the world is Facebook.
Right?
Including these video episodes.
Yeah, so it began
These are
among-
not Facebook.
No, but they were
They're
the
on
breeding
Patreon.
ground.
Oh, they were the breeding ground.
They
Oh,
evolved.
God. What
We
have
took
we
them
done?
to a better place.
So it began among parents who call regular COVID-19 testing unnecessary, as results may force the whole school to shut down despite the number of children affected. Davis County School District parents are calling it the mom code.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Also, these people just don't care about the health and safety of like teachers and
Anyone?
administrators and
We'll
staff.
get to it.
Families that you're bringing that shit home to?
We'll get to it.
Ugh.
Education is not childcare. And yes, I understand that this is a really, really difficult position for a lot of parents to be in.
I'm
But
not saying
also
that all
for
schools
people
should be
who
closed.
consider
I'm not
childcare a
saying
human
that.
right,
Neither
and
the
that you wouldn't be
alternative.
reliant on school
Reducing-
for 3 fucking meals a day, and you could get actual access to childcare.
This is uncovering so many deeper issues in our social structure that need to be addressed before sending children back to school during a pandemic.
Or just, this isn't even about whether or not schools stay open. This is about hiding cases in order to
artificially
keep, schools open.
Let me read this because then we have plenty of time to complain about this. Well, we don't have plenty of time, but there's plenty of room to complain about it. Quote, "Stay home, don't get tested," read one comment. "If your child shows COVID symptoms, please keep them home, but do not test," said another, according to Good Morning America, which obtained screenshots of the posts before they were removed from social media.
At least
Dirty's
they were
elite.
removed.
"I personally think getting tested is selfish," read another comment reported by Salt Lake City's KUTV, "because of the fact that they contact trace everyone, so one person leads to 30 people that have to quarantine or worse. Programs like athletics, etc. are shut down. It's mass hysteria because one person came in contact with another person that had the sniffles and ran to get tested. Stop the testing. Stop the contact tracing."
If you just have the sniffles and you get tested and it's negative, none of this matters. But COVID is
Kills
not
people.
the sniffles.
It just a little bit more.
This
Then
is
we
the
can
most
bitch.
asinine shit I've ever heard in my life.
This is exactly what Trump was saying about how if we stopped testing, there'd be fewer cases.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Also, the governor of Iowa. Salute.
Oh, my
Happy
God.
election.
Oh
The
my
Centers
God.
for Disease Control and Prevention recommends patients test only when they show signs of COVID-19 illness or if they have been in contact with someone who has the virus. However, mom code proponents would rather risk the possibility of an outbreak due to an asymptomatic carrier of the infection than have school doors shut again.
Or even a symptomatic carrier
Clearly,
of the infection.
anyone.
They're
Evidently,
saying
yeah.
if your kid
Stay
has
home.
symptoms, stay home and don't get
confirm
tested.
it.
Yeah. So for the record, contact tracing is A, historically effective.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking do your research.
B, if you have a Facebook account, you're being watched anyway.
It
Get the
is-
fuck over it.
It is
Karen.
crucial to the effective containment of epidemics. It has been proven time and time again. It sucks that schools are closed. I empathize with that. I don't have children, thank Christ, that are school age right now because this is a very difficult position to be
I
in.
can't even fathom how
However-
difficult
hard.
it must be. Yeah.
Listen to the scientists. These moms are not epidemiologists. They are not scientists. Listen to the scientists for fuck's sake.
And vote for access to childcare so that, again, you don't have to rely on public school specifically.
Again, these are
as
deeper
childcare.
issues.
Exactly.
Regular meals for
Y'all.
children, childcare,
Yep.
paid leave, all
Yep.
of this, all of this.
All of it. Preach, mama.
Oh my God. Okay, so
So there are some real shit moms.
back on to Mom Crimes. The killing of one's mother is called matricide, and here are some notable cases. During the Battle of Okinawa in 1945, there are accounts in which Okinawan civilians killed their mothers to prevent them from being captured, raped, tortured, and or killed by the invading American forces.
Well, that
my
is just
God,
about the
you
darkest
started
thing
with-
you've ever said.
That's not even
darkest-
close to the darkest
Fun
thing
fact.
I've ever said.
It's up there.
Hashtag mom facts.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Jesus.
MAGA?
Oh,
That's
God.
real dark.
No.
okay. Can't wait for what comes next.
Not
after
so
that
proud to
palate
be an
cleanser.
American. Mary Ann Lamb, who is the sister of essayist and author Charles Lamb, killed their invalid mother during an episode of Mania in 1796.
Oh my God. That's not where I saw that going, even though we're talking about matricide.
Oh, I'm just having a list of matricide. Just a list.
Okay.
Jack Gilbert Graham killed his mother along with 43 people by planting a dynamite bomb in his mother's suitcase that was subsequently loaded aboard United Airlines Flight 629 in 1955. I'd never heard of this.
No, me either.
He used his mom as like a bomb mule. Ugh.
Look at Amanda's face. Oh,
Maybe I do need to drink today.
yeah.
Get on my level.
I'll think about it while you continue to ruin my life.
Ever heard of John List?
Yes.
He murdered his mother, wife, and 3 children on November 9th, 1971, making List also guilty of filicide and uxoricide.
I always forget that he killed his mother.
I
killed his mom
heard
and
that
his
the
wife
term
and his young kids.
listicle is based off of John List.
It's not.
I know. I made that up. That was
No.
the pause, though, the confidence with which I said it, and the
Yeah.
pause. I got
You're
what
like
I
a
wanted.
mediocre white man.
I got what I. Yes, thank you. Finally. That's all I've ever
Corey
wanted.
brought me my wedding ring.
Aw.
Where'd you find it?
I swear I wear it all the time.
So John List was a fugitive for 18 years. He was apprehended on June 1st, 1989 after an episode of America's Most Wanted.
Haven't we covered List?
I think we have, yeah.
Yeah.
He was on the run for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Well, 18 years. And on May 1st, 1990, he was sentenced to 5 life terms in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Gordon, a session musician who played drums with Eric Clapton.
Gordy.
Ever heard of him?
Mm.
Yes. Heard of him too much.
And the Dominoes bludgeoned his mother with a hammer and then stabbed her to death with a butcher's knife in 1983. Why do you need both?
Overkill.
Let the hammer do
Yeah,
it.
overkill.
Let
we know
the hammer
victim.
do it.
It's an
Wouldn't
intimate.
the hammer do it?
Oh.
It's an intimate crime.
I know it's an intimate crime. In May 1984, he was sentenced to 16 years to life in prison. Also, beginning at 16 years for this, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald DeFeo Jr. killed his parents and his 4 siblings in what would later become known as the Amityville Horror House.
We've definitely
Yep.
covered that.
Yep.
Ryan Reynolds killed his wife, mother, and children
Jake
in
Gyllenhaal.
the 2006 remake.
No one heard my joke. Jake Gyllenhaal.
I heard it.
In Cider House Rules. The acclaimed horror film, Cider House Rules.
The Cider House Horror.
Edmund Kemper beat his mother to death in 1973 along with one of his mother's friends before turning himself into the police. I forgot that he killed his mom like right before he was arrested. Like I think
Yup.
Didn't he
it
fuck
seems
her
like that
skull?
would be
Yup.
yeah, but
He
I
fucked her
I
neck
thought
hole.
that was like a gate. I thought that was like the first thing.
It
he
wasn't.
did.
All of he had serious mommy issues, and they like created this deep hatred that he had for women. And basically, like, the culmination of all of these murders, where he was basically murdering his mother over and over again,
Oh yeah.
ended
his
essentially with
mom
him
was
finally
the final.
killing his mom.
She was
Yeah.
his
Okay.
capstone project.
Mhm.
Well, it says Kemper had been psychologically abused by his domineering mother in his youth.
And yeah, he fucked her neck hole. We've definitely covered him. I think
We've
in
covered
First
the
episode.
necrophilia,
Yeah.
the neck hole.
the
My
only episode I
neck-hole-philia.
remember.
Yeah.
That will haunt me. That is the only episode I really remember. Well, dementia is real. Okay. Adam Lanza in the
Oh.
Sandy Hook
Lambert.
Elementary School shooting shot and
Oh.
killed his mother along with, I'm going to say 26 individuals and then himself in
Wow.
December 2012.
I also forgot he killed his mother.
He killed
what
his
is
mom
it saying
first.
that I'm forgetting that all these people killed their mother?
So many people kill their moms.
It's like
This
a
list was
selective forgetting
long.
in order to encourage people to continue to breed.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
It's like when you have a baby and your
Forget all
hormones
the
make you
bad
forget
shit.
how much it hurts, so
Yeah.
that you'll do it again.
right.
Your brain's making you forget that people kill their moms.
Yeah,
Actually, we'll get
probably. though.
I'm not
to-
kidding.
No, we'll get to motherhood.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Anthony Jacob Gennaro, notable white supremacist of Covington, Louisiana, killed his mother in 2019 after she refused to fill his Prozac prescription.
Well,
Okay,
maybe
well,
she
that's
should
wrong
have.
on a lot of levels.
I'm not a victim blamer, but
refilled his Prozac.
let
But maybe
the
he
boy
should
take
have refilled
meds.
his own goddamn Prozac
Yeah.
prescription.
Do
True.
it yourself. Last but not least, we have Dipendra of Nepal, who reportedly massacred much of his family at a royal dinner on June 1st, 2001, including his mother, Queen Aishwarya, father, brother, and sister.
Damn.
I'd
Wow.
never heard of that either.
No.
Lots of matricide I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Okay, and so now I have some fun facts about motherhood in
Oh,
general.
those weren't the fun facts?
No, these are the fun facts.
Hashtag mom facts.
Mom facts. So they say that you'll always carry your child in your heart, but it's actually
So they say
both,
that Ed Kemper fucked his mom's neck hole? Okay, so
it's actually both corny and literally true. There's a thing called feto-maternal microchimerism, where cells from a fetus pass through the placenta and establish cell lineage within the mother. Oh my God, Ray. My pink
speaking
pen
of
is out.
cell lineage
My
within
pink
the
pen
mother.
is out. He's going ballistic. Get out. Jesus fucking Christ. Him and the pink pen, I swear to God.
Get a sitter.
So fetal cells have been documented.
Subsidized
Child
care.
care. It is a
Seriously.
human right. Ray deserves
I
better.
can't work under these conditions.
You can't. You can't.
I literally can't. Fetal cells have been documented to persist and multiply in the mother for several decades.
It grosses me
Whoa.
out so much.
So this happens even if the child is not born alive. So if there's a miscarriage or whatever. And its cells can be found all over the mother's body, most notably in the heart and the brain.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
scientists don't know a ton about this, but research suggests that those fetal cells may help to prevent Alzheimer's, autoimmune disorders, and breast cancer.
Well, I guess I'm
So,
going to
like,
get all three because I will
those-
not have those cells.
Those fetal cells
Yeah,
help
keep
to
you young.
protect like late life illnesses, which I think is so cool. It's
so
creepy,
odd.
but it's kind of cool.
Is that so that like moms can keep caring for their young?
It's just one of those things, just one of those magical components of motherhood. According
Yeah.
to biologist Katie Hindy, when a baby suckles at its mother's breast, a
Blech.
vacuum is created. And we touched on this in the dairy crimes,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
but this just for some reason hit me a little bit. I think it's cool. It's gross and so cool. Within that vacuum, the infant's saliva is sucked back into the mother's nipple, where receptors in her mammary gland read its signals. So this baby spit backwash.
Yeah, this is all coming back to me now.
Mhm.
I
It contains
really-
information
I
about
really don't
the
like it.
baby's. Hi.
Amanda
I
doesn't like it.
No.
Well, bear with me, please. So the backwash contains information about the baby's immune status, and everything scientists know about physiology indicates that baby backwash is one of the ways that breast milk adjusts its immunological composition. So we did talk about like if someone gives birth to twins and they regularly feed one twin on one boob and the other on the other boob, each boob can distribute different
Each
like
boob.
different chemical compositions of breast milk.
Nasuke.
It's made to order.
Yeah.
It's a line cook.
It's haute. It's bespoke. It's bespoke breast milk. Breastpoke. Amanda's gonna throw.
Yeah, where does this rank compared to lice?
No,
They're
she-
tied at
she
this
can't
point.
deal with lice.
Honestly, I can't deal with lice, and I can deal with an explosive diarrhea diaper that shits up to your ears. But the tit milk spit up and the formula, can't.
Okay.
The milky spit.
You have the weirdest hangups.
Yeah, you do.
Well, they're easy to avoid. Don't have kids and don't get lice, and I'm fine.
Yeah, and lice and kids kind of go together. So
I know. So
Tandem.
kind of a twofer. Okay, I'm forgetting the name of the podcast, but I've been listening to Things You Missed in History class a lot, and they have this ad going for a different podcast where someone is interviewing Kristen Bell, and she's telling a story. Have you heard this?
No, but she's fucking funny about motherhood stuff.
Yeah. She tells this story, and I've only heard the ad, but I've heard it like 10 times, that she had like a blockage in her milk duct, and she didn't want to go on antibiotics because then she like couldn't keep breastfeeding. So she asked Dax to suckle
Suckle the chunk out?
Suckle the chunks out, and he did, and it took 30 minutes. And he had like a spittoon.
Oh, I gotta go. She's out. She is not here anymore. She's heaving in the corner.
Again, this is, I'm just retelling an ad for another podcast.
No.
Yeah.
It's like those throat peanuts.
Stop! Are you kidding me?
The mucus plugs.
Stop! I will walk off of this show. I will walk.
I will walk.
You don't walk.
I will roll.
I will hobble. I'll shuffle away from the show so fast.
So slowly, it'll make your head spin.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Are you?
Yes, but you might want to walk away again. The worst part's not over, I don't think.
Oh my God.
Actually, no, yes.
Nope, we're done.
The worst part's over. Okay. The worst part's almost over.
Just do it. Just do it. Just fucking do it. I don't care. Just fucking do it.
Just get the chunks out. Just do it.
If the mammary gland receptors detect the presence of pathogens, they compel the mother's body to produce antibodies to fight it, and those antibodies travel through the breast milk back into the baby's body where they target the infection.
That's super cool. I like
So
that.
your
That's like
boob
body
is a pharmacy.
robotics.
It's a
I love it.
pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, author of How the Immune System Works, Lauren Sampirak, nailed it, says, quote, when a mother kisses her baby, she samples those pathogens that are on the baby's face. Those are the ones that the baby is about to ingest. So these samples are taken up by the mother's secondary lymphoid organs, like the tonsils, and memory B cells specific for those pathogens are re-stimulated. These B cells then migrate to the mother's breasts where they produce just those antibodies that the baby needs.
So is that why babies are like so kissable? That's why we feel compelled to do that?
I think that's why babies smell so good, because you want to get your face close to it to like kiss it.
Yeah, and smell it.
And then that affects as the mother, that affects your breast milk composition. It's
I like
fucking
it.
wild. There have been studies that show that babies' heart rates sync with their parents when in the same vicinity, while the same is not true with strangers. So it's specific to its parents.
That's cute.
And it's
I like
possible that this is triggered but when the parents smile at the baby.
Oh my God. Okay, that's sweet.
precious.
I know. I think that's kind of cute.
Never smile at your baby.
Seeing or hearing basement boy. Seeing or
They
hearing
won't
our
grow up
mothers.
strong if you smile at them.
I wonder if they would know how to smile if they were never once smiled at.
I think it's
I think it's
instinctual.
instinct. Yeah.
Or while babies are so young that they see things upside down, what if you just frowned really severely at them?
What if you did?
What if?
All right, I'm
I
trying
guess we'll
it.
never know.
That's why you have children, to experiment on them.
That is literally why.
Yeah. It's like a really real experiment that lasts 18 years. Okay, so seeing or hearing our mother's voice releases the same amount of oxytocin as getting a hug from them, and that cancels out cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So if you ever feel stressed out, call your mom. It chemically reduces your cortisol levels.
For some.
Sometimes.
I'm sure it does.
I'm assuming if you have like a stable, healthy relationship with that person.
Yeah. I like how both of us are like,
Yeah.
I
guys can
definitely
call my
call my
mom.
mom when I'm stressed out, but not everybody has that
Sometimes.
same luxury.
Call my mom. In English, she's mom. In Mandarin Chinese, she's mama. In Spanish, she's mama too, though with slightly different accents on the syllables. So mom is translated as mama in Iceland, ma in Punjabi, m in Hebrew, and me in Vietnamese. So if you're noticing a trend, It's because one of the first word-like sounds that babies typically vocalize is a ma sound.
Yep.
And so almost every language across the globe has taken that baby talk as the basis for the word mother.
I love that.
Oh.
Which is,
And that
I've
makes a
noticed
lot of
it
sense.
before, but it's super cute.
So it's driven
so
by
cute.
babies.
Mama.
It's kind of like how ananas is the word for pineapple in every language except for English.
Anus. Anus, anus. It's anus. It's an anus.
All right. It's an anus. It's an anus.
Okay.
That's my seg.
Well done.
Yay! I only almost gagged myself to death and had to leave and then come back.
You left the room.
I left to the other side of the room. I left the headphones
Yeah. You
because
left
I
the
needed to
Skype
get
room.
out of range of being able to hear anything that was coming through them. It was too much. You did that to me.
I'm proud.
Well done.
Are we ready for my case?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, it's pretty bonkers, and you're going to hear about one mom that you really don't want to call to reduce your cortisol levels.
Oh, jeez.
So,
It's not for everyone.
Barbara Daly was born in 1921 and was raised in Cambridge, Massachusetts. When she was 11 years old, her father died by suicide, and he actually asphyxiated himself in the family's garage with fumes from his car. Old school. But he succeeded in making his death look enough like an accident that Barbara, his daughter, and her mother, his widow, were able to collect his life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought it through, and but not a great start.
No.
Barbara's,
I've heard better.
Barbara's mother, Nini, decided that the best use of that insurance money was to move her young daughter to New York City, where she could grow up among the upper class and ideally self-actualize by finding herself a wealthy husband.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how it's
the
done.
only way out.
The only way out. Ugh.
And Mother Nini's plan to find her daughter a place in the New York social scene was successful. As a teenager, Barbara was named one of New York's 10 most beautiful girls.
Oh, my God.
That would not fly.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Look at these beautiful children.
Yeah.
Put them on display for all to gawk at.
Yeah.
Ish.
And
It's like our, what was our pageant crimes? Like most beautiful eyes and most beautiful legs. And
yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
The bag over the head.
just those metal
Only see the
masks
legs.
with just the eyes.
I love it.
We will get to bags over the head.
Good God. Okay.
well,
this
I was
led-
worried. I'm so glad.
This led to modeling contracts with Vogue and Harper's Bazaar when she was still a teen and in her early 20s.
Sounds awful.
Her work as a model in New York then caught the eye of a Hollywood film studio, which invited her out west to record a screen test. And there are photos of her on the drive, Barbara, and she was very beautiful. The screen test did not result in any acting jobs, but while she was in Hollywood, she met and became friends with another aspiring actress named Cornelia Dickie Bakeland. Dickie!
I
Just
love
love this time.
Yep.
Dickie.
So
We
Dickie
just
was
don't
a wealthy
name them
heiress.
like we used to.
I know.
Well, you like it because it reminds you of the talented Mr. Ripley. I
Uh-huh.
know you.
Yep, totally.
You mean
so
being
right.
John Malkovich?
Is there a Dickie there?
Cider House
No.
Rules.
I just get all these
Oh.
movies mixed up.
Being John Malkovich shouldn't
being
be
John
mixed up
Malkovich,
with
the talented
any.
Mr. Ripley, and what's the other one?
We've covered
with
this before. She
Thomas
has the,
Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown
Yeah.
Affair, and then there's another one. Oh,
Cider
Captain,
House
my
Rules.
Captain.
Cider House Rules.
No,
not
that's
Cider
not
House
Cider
Rules.
House Rules. That's the teacher one.
Yep.
The substitute?
the smart
No.
Matt Damon.
The
the
faculty.
talented Mr. Damon.
Oh,
that's a different
apples.
one.
The apples.
That's a different one too.
They're all the same. They're the same.
Okay,
Ben
but Captain is not. It's not. What's the
No,
fucking
it's not.
nurse?
Well, I said I get them all mixed up. Where's the
Remember
line?
anything. Goodwill Hunting is the
Goodwill,
Damon one.
it's all the same. The
No, and then
talented Goodwill John Malkovich.
Dead Poets Society.
Yes.
Dead fucking poets. They're all the same.
Full circle. They should come in a box set, honestly.
You have a thing
They
with
really should.
three-word movie titles. Being John
Dead Poets
Malkovich,
Society.
Dead Poet Society, Thomas
Talented
Crown
Mr.
Affair.
Ripley. Oh my
Goodwill
gosh, they are
Hunting.
Honestly,
Cider House Rules.
Yeah. We
You're
solved
all
it.
the same.
Okay.
I can't.
Being John Malkovich.
Welcome to our movies podcast.
It's not
We're
doing well, and we're
experts.
losing all of our sponsors. If you're wondering how our new movie podcast was going, that's it. Update.
Special guest, poor man's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Joe Geronimo.
Oh my God, that was bad. Okay.
Ugh, we are
So-
very stupid women.
Okay, so this friend, Cornelia Dickey Bakeland, was a wealthy heiress who was the granddaughter of Leo Bakeland, a Belgian chemist who was the inventor of, wait for it, plastics.
I was going to say rubber nipples, and that's not that far off.
Just plastic.
Love it.
It reminds me of that scene in The Graduate when that guy by the pool is just like plastics. You know?
Yeah.
The
Don't
big-
ask
the
us.
next frontier.
This is not a movie podcast. We've made
The
that
Graduate?
True, but that's only 2 words,
Right.
The Graduate. So
Mhm.
it might have hit differently. I don't know.
True.
Might it have?
Anyway, this should give you a sense of the amount of money that this family had. Dickie introduced Barbara to her younger brother, Brooks, a handsome pilot in training for the Royal Canadian Air Force. Barbara and Brooks hit it off immediately, and Barbara decided that he was exactly the wealthy husband that she and Nene had long been searching for.
Oh, good.
Not long after they began dating, Barbara told Brooks that she was pregnant, which was not true.
Oops.
Okay?
Okay.
And the two were married. So
that
it worked.
always works out. No notes.
Like mother, like daughter, honestly. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Barbara's father's death was fishy because Nene was very manipulative, and then Barbara becomes real sloppy bananas and manipulative.
I'm ready for it.
The couple then moved to New York and got a luxury apartment on the Upper East Side. They were prominent members of New York high society and soon became known for their wild parties, which were attended by celebrities like Greta Garbo, Salvador Dali, and Tennessee Williams.
And Matt Damon.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Jake Gyllenhaal
And-
/ Tobey Maguire.
Same difference.
Which one was Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Neither,
Tobey Maguire.
right?
Tommy Maguire.
Oh.
Tobey Maguire.
There was a third one we had lumped
Yeah.
in there, though, too. I think it was Topher Grace.
Topher
Yeah.
Grace. But he's from that 70s show.
Right. Not Spider-Man.
No.
Yeah, but they all kind of look exactly the same.
Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire are the same person, and you can't prove that they're not because no one's ever seen them in the same room at the same time.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
And that's the hill I will die on.
That and the Space Needle is a hoax.
It's not real. It is. I am a
I've never
Space Needle
seen it.
truther. We are all being gaslit, and Kelsey Grammer is the problem
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
and the solution.
That's
No.
the grain of truth in the conspiracy theory.
There
So,
she is.
All right.
okay.
You'll all
So,
see.
They have these wild parties. At one such gathering, the men were told to take off their clothes, like strip naked, and stand behind a screen that only concealed their torsos and faces. And then the women had to guess which bottom half belonged to which man.
Including Wiener?
I'm going to
Yeah,
need to measure
naked.
Oh, that's not good.
it. That
Yeah.
is Horrific.
I told you we'd get to bags over faces,
Bull.
screens, but whatever.
Oh, no.
This was the 1940s.
We got away with some shit.
Yeah. Brooks later recalled, quote, "My house was always buzzing with beautiful, silly, tipsy people."
Congrats.
In 1946, Barbara got pregnant for realsies and gave birth to a son named Anthony, who they called Tony. People who knew the family recall that from the time that he was a baby, Brooks and Barbara were very invested in the idea that Tony was a child prodigy.
Okay.
Tony was not a child prodigy.
Your child. The amount of times your child prodigy turns out to actually be a child prodigy is about 0.01%, folks. So your kid's average, get used to it.
And you can't make them a prodigy
Sure
either.
can't.
You could maybe ruin their lives and their childhood and make them like a spelling bee champion that they didn't want to be. Like you can force some achievement on a child through abuse.
I was going to say, you could abuse your kid into being real good at something, but maybe fucking don't do that.
Yeah. But you cannot, Well,
Let them find their own passions. Because if they were super into spelling,
sure,
and they
that's
became
fine.
a national spelling bee champion,
Great.
We'd be front and center at every spelling game.
But like, who genuinely wants to play the violin?
No one.
There's probably very few people out there.
Not a single person.
So, Tony was regularly trotted out at parties to show off some supposedly genius talent that, whatever.
Please promise me right now, both of you, that no
I will
trotting
trot
of your
out my
children
children
out.
at every holiday. Oh, will or won't?
Won't.
Should or shouldn't?
Unless it's like, look, Damien Faye learned how to gut a roadkill today, and I want to show it to you. I do not want to see your kid play the bassoon or whatever the fuck they have to do for middle school music.
My
Their
cousin Harry
recorder
is,
concert.
I think Harry's like probably 22 now. And up until recently, through his whole childhood, my aunt dressed him in a little plaid bow tie and a vest and made him play the piano at our family Christmas party.
Because he was just the baby of all the cousins.
Oh, he was one of the youngest, and she was very proud of his musical skills. And she'd dress him up and make him play, and then you could tell in his like mid-teenage years, he was just like, fuck this. But he just
took it.
What a good kid. Poor bastard.
Now he's old enough to just do it with a good beer buzz and think it's funny, but there was like a good 8-year period when he was
It was
like,
not funny.
Fuck.
14 to 22, honestly, was rough.
Not here for it.
It was probably rough. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so I make no promises. I think it's hysterical.
I think it's hilarious. I fully support it.
You will be required at every middle school concert.
I am not showing up
And drama
for any
production.
of that shit.
Or like your
Or
aunt.
Do you want to hear a 7th grader's dramatic monologue? Yes,
No.
you do.
Well,
No, I don't.
So he's trotted out at parties to show off his genius, and when he's not being shown off to his parents' friends at parties, he's basically just ignored. He's just a prop in their
that's
lives.
sad.
Poor Bubby.
He's a ventriloquist doll.
Oh, it gets so much worse. The artist Yvonne Thomas, who attended the Bakelands parties, remembers that, quote, "They wanted the boy to be a genius. That's what struck me. I felt uncomfortable for him because I felt he had to be something."
Just let him be a kid.
Another friend remembers
Bubby.
being extremely uncomfortable at one of these parties when Brooks and Barbara instructed a very young Anthony to read aloud from the erotic writings of the Marquis de Sade.
Ooh,
What?
that's gross stuff. I mean, not gross. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but like that's really serious.
For like
That's
a
not
5-year-old
for
kid or
children.
whatever.
No,
to
it's
be reading.
not. It's barely for adults.
And yet another friend broke off contact completely with the Bakelins after listening to Brooks describe with pride how his young son had torn the wings off of several flies to study how it would affect their balance.
Ooh, that's a red flag.
Yeah, and the friend found this pride that Brooks took in his son's like evident cruelty
A little jarring.
Yeah, really disturbing.
Fair.
When
There
When
are other ways to knock flies off of their balance. You know what I mean?
Swat them.
I don't find that disturbing because do what you got to do to bugs.
Good Lord.
But
you could catch flies, put them in a jar, swing them around, make them dizzy, and then let them go and let them fly around to see how weird they fly.
Does anybody else just use a fly swatter or fly paper?
yeah,
just
if you're going to kill a fly.
I don't kill flies. I let them die and then I throw them away. They
Well,
don't live that long.
I don't give a shit about flies.
long enough.
Live with it.
Okay. When Anthony was 8, his parents decided to leave New York and embark on a nomadic existence where they were constantly moving between luxury resorts and popular European destinations.
Oh, how awful.
I'm
Sounds
sure
rough.
his education was a priority
Mm-hmm.
during all this. It wasn't. It wasn't. As a result, Anthony had no structure or stability, and his parents were alternating between paying intense attention to him, like when there was an audience, and ignoring him completely to go out partying.
Mm-hmm.
A friend who went to visit the Bakelins in the south of France recalls that, quote, they just sat and drank masses of wine and jabbered and gossiped with this duchess and that principessa and yet another contessa, this and that, and Tony was left out of everything.
Which sounds fun, but if you have a kid, maybe pay attention to your kid.
Right.
What's a principessa?
It's like an
Sounds-
Italian royalty thing.
I like the sounds of that.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Sounds like a Beanie Baby or a Pokemon.
Principessa. Ray, you're my little principessa.
Left to his own devices and without friends of his own because he's constantly traveling.
Yeah, he doesn't have time to make them.
Mm-hmm. It was not uncommon for young Tony to spend an afternoon engaging in disturbing activities like collecting live crabs and then pulling them apart.
Yeah, it's not good what
escalating.
he's doing to animals, whether they're bugs or whatever. It's
Right.
not a good situation.
By the time Tony was 14, it was obvious that he had inherited his parents' good looks and charm, but many people also noticed the evidence of his lonely childhood. That summer, a couple with a young baby came to stay with the Bakelins, bringing with them a 2-week supply of baby food. They soon noticed that the baby food was disappearing, and they discovered that Anthony was sneaking down to the kitchen at night and eating it, something that they attributed to his psychological state and wanting to identify with the baby because the baby was getting attention.
Oh.
And also he had never received proper care from his own parents. So he
Oh,
was
that's
like,
so creepy.
he was like
Yeah.
regressing
Yup.
and eating the baby food.
Oh. How old was he? 14?
14.
Oh.
By this
This
point,
is sad.
yeah,
This is
it gets
dark.
worse.
Yeah, I bet
Yay.
it does.
By this point, Anthony was attending boarding school and only spending summers with his parents at whatever vacation destination they happened to be staying at. And you'd think, I don't know. I mean, boarding school can be tough for people with well-adjusted childhoods.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At boarding school, he had his first sexual experiences with male classmates. When he was on vacations, he would often pick up older boys and bring them home with him while his parents were out partying. His parents were informed of this, and to his dad, it did not come as a shock. It simply confirmed something that he had suspected for a while about
Sure.
Tony.
That he was gay or that he was having sexual relationships at a relatively young age?
I
Or
think that
both?
he was gay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been an issue that he was having sex as a teenager, I guess. That wasn't the issue,
Mhm.
and we will get to it.
Okay.
For Barbara, this was a different story. She was not okay with Tony's sexuality. According to one source, Tony's homosexuality was a terrible shock to his mother, who fought against it with him ferociously.
Fuck off. It's none of your fucking business who your kid boinks.
She simply could not accept it.
Let the boy boink.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he's boinking safely, let the boy boink.
At least he's not eating fucking baby food for attention. He's just like, maybe this is just what he needs to live his life.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit of an Oedipus situation.
It's going to be really bad.
Okay, here we go.
For the next several years, Barbara continued to fight with Anthony about his homosexual relationships, while at the same time, her marriage was becoming more and more volatile. Brooks had begun sleeping with other women. I know you're shocked.
Mm-hmm.
But he felt he couldn't leave Barbara because every time she discovered one of his affairs, she threatened and sometimes attempted suicide.
Sure, okay.
Oh, God.
And
we're all thriving in this family.
Everyone's doing
super
great.
healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We're mentally all there.
We're there.
Strong and stable.
Yep, money solves all problems.
Sure
and
does.
everyone with money is happy.
A
No
nomadic
notes.
European luxury lifestyle.
Mhm.
What could go wrong?
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Barbara was carrying on affairs of her own in order to demonstrate to her husband that she was still desirable to men.
I see that. I can see it.
I feel that.
Lucy,
I feel that
see
deeply.
that.
I feel that deeply inside me.
It's not
Show
like
him
that's
you
what
still
I
got
would
it,
do.
girl. Show
I
him you
can-
still got it.
I can
Mhm.
just see the dysfunction leading to the logical next step.
Oh, yeah, of
Sure.
course. It's very classic.
Yeah.
This terrible family situation came to a head in the summer of 1967 when Anthony was 21 years old. Barbara made him dress up in a little bow tie and play the piano at the family Christmas gathering.
No.
This is fucking like this is some mother boy shit from Arrested Development.
Oh my
I
God.
couldn't resist.
I wasn't following
It was
along.
seamless.
Lucy's
What?
face.
Is this about my family? It's only a matter of time till we cover a Poe family Christmas.
That would be
cake.
so good.
No, it's actually worse than having to play the piano in a bow tie.
Far worse.
A tartan bow tie, though,
Top of
with
the
a
line.
matching vest.
I was going to say, is there a vest?
There's always a vest.
and matching socks.
Oh, God. Okay.
It
So
only gets worse.
Tony decided to spend the summer with his parents in the Spanish resort town of Cadac. No, I don't know how to say that. Here he met...
Cataquace.
Nailed it.
Whatever. Spain.
The town of
The Spanish
Spain.
resort of Spain.
Here he met an Australian man named Jake Cooper. Anthony was entranced by Jake, who was tall and handsome with dark hair and always wore a silver earring and a black leather vest with small bones sewn into it that he referred to as amulets.
So he's
I'm
entering his
also
gay goth
entranced.
phase. Yep.
I'm also entranced by Jake Cooper.
I think
Yeah.
I made out with this guy in Excelsior once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Down by
In
the
the
beach by
comments.
that dead end.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
That's where I had my first
I
kiss.
know.
Mhm.
I know.
It was not Jake Gyllenhaal or whatever this guy's name is.
It was not.
Jake
That's-
Cooper lived in an abandoned farmhouse with an entourage of hippies who referred to him as Black Jake.
Ish.
Okay. Like
It's
Black Phillip.
It's 1967.
It was the 60s.
Anthony began spending all of his time at the farmhouse taking hallucinogens and essentially doing whatever Jake asked of him, including giving him money. He was just completely enthralled under his spell.
Question.
Yes.
Is Jake Cooper a black man or
No.
they just call him Black Jake because he wears a black vest?
Yeah, like goth Jake.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Black. What's the goat?
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip.
I was just trying to gauge if this was like a racial connotation name or just like a, from our standpoint, an insensitive nickname to a, person who wears a lot of black.
I think it's like a person who wears a lot of black, goth Jake.
Okay. Gotcha.
A family friend noticed that Tony seemed to be in a bad situation and called Barbara to express her concerns. So, Tony's 21. He's enthralled. He's living in this abandoned farmhouse with a bunch of
hanging
hippies
out
doing
with some
drugs.
scary-looking kids, some goth kids.
And giving them money, which that's when rich people draw the line.
Right.
Barbara decided to take Tony to Switzerland with her to get away from Jake. But when she attempted to cross the border with her son, they were detained because he didn't have his passport on him, which led to Barbara throwing a fit and kicking and spitting at the immigration officers.
Okay, that behavior is unacceptable.
Yeah, she's great. Everyone's great. Barbara and Tony were then arrested. A friend who was with them that night remembered being horrified when she heard Barbara saying to her son as they were led away, "Here you are, darling, at last, manacled to mummy."
Oh.
Wow, that's icky. Part of me wonders like how long she breastfed for.
8 years.
Yeah.
And it's
If
just
your
pure
kid
gin
can
and
ask
tonic.
you for it by name.
Through. The breasts are producing gin.
Oh,
Well, as we know,
Yeah.
it's a distillery in there.
it's a regular pharmacy / distillery.
My God.
And the arrest was not the only significant event that summer for the Bakeland family. After Black Goth Jake, after that episode, Tony met and began dating a French teenager named Sylvie, who was also in Quebec on vacation with her family. So maybe he was bi. We don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Let's
matter.
not
It's a
put him in a
spectrum.
box.
Yeah.
That's not really the issue here.
Yeah.
Let him
Evidently.
Barbara was overjoyed that her son was showing interest in a woman and almost immediately began inviting Sylvie over for dinners and pressuring the young couple to marry.
Ish. Bitch. Go away.
Is he still like 14?
He's 21.
Oh, okay.
But this girl's a
Still.
teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, she could be like 18 or 19. I don't actually know exactly, but like still.
Too young to be
Don't like it.
pressuring their child
don't like
into marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she would remind Sylvie that her son would be very rich one day.
That is incredibly gross.
Yeah. That's gross.
But
I do not like that.
Barbara's
Family.
meddling backfired. Instead of bringing Sylvie and Tony closer together, it introduced Sylvie to Brooks, the father, her husband,
No.
and the two began having an affair.
Oh, no.
Sylvie and Tony's dad?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Started dating the son, ended up winking the dad.
No.
Oh, no.
I don't like it.
I really don't like anything about this. I really
I don't
hate
like a
this
single thing about
lot.
this.
I really
Except for
hate
the luxury European.
Right. I do like that. I like that. Yeah.
The discovery of Brooks and Sylvie's affair began a year-long ordeal during which both Barbara and Sylvie each attempted suicide,
Oh, get away from this
Wow.
family.
and which ended with Brooks finally leaving Barbara for Sylvie, for this
Ooh.
French teenager.
Ooh.
Oh, ouch. E.T. Ouch.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Barbara and Tony, so the mother and the son, both traumatized by the year's events,
Yeah.
decided to spend the following summer together at a house in Mallorca
At
that had-
Spain.
at Spain
At Spain.
Mhm.
that had been loaned to them by the daughter of an Austrian archduke.
Oh,
Okay,
which one?
none of this is real, but okay.
So what could go wrong now that Tony is manacled to mummy in Mallorca?
Also, I
Spain,
want to write
at
the musical Tony and Mummy in Mallorca at Spain.
Mhm.
Tony and Mummy.
In Mallorca.
Ooh.
Here, they spent most of their days drinking together and getting high.
I mean, okay.
Classic mother-son relationship.
Bonding.
And here, it was here that Barbara's terrible parenting would cross the line into the truly depraved.
It's like, wait, it hadn't already?
Nope. Not yet.
Oh, it's Kenyan. It always gets worse.
That's true. We're hitting climax, so get ready to vomit.
Writer Alan Harrington.
I'm close.
Writer Alan Harrington, a friend of Barbara's, received a phone call from her in which she informed him that she had slept with her son in order to, quote, break him of his homosexual tendencies.
Oh. What?
There are worse problems to have, Barbara.
It's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem.
Not a problem.
She's making it a problem.
Right.
And then
You
she's
rape your
doubling
son.
down.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is so gross.
They're just rich and crazy and attention ravenous and
Was this a movie?
self-isolating. I mean, probably.
This
It
is
sounds like it.
horrific.
I know. Either we've covered this before or it's a movie.
Shocked, so the friend hearing this on the phone is shocked. He at first tried to reassure her and assuage her guilt. But then he
Okay.
realized that Barbara didn't sound like she felt guilty at all.
Because she didn't.
She didn't. And she kept insisting that the encounter had been, quote, therapeutic for Tony.
No. No. No.
It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I
It
can't think of a
wasn't.
single circumstance where seeing your mother nude in a sexual situation would be therapeutic for literally any reason or context. Period.
It's not.
No.
It's
There's no
super
context.
not.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so gross.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Poor Tony.
Poor Tony.
Mm-hmm. Far from being therapeutic, this episode seemed to understandably be the last straw and destroy Tony psychologically and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
destroyed
Yeah.
psychologically and emotionally.
Yep.
He and
This is
Barbara
very bad.
moved back to New York and into an apartment together, and pretty much everyone who encountered him during this time period found his behavior troubling. He would take off his clothes and walk around the apartment naked during a dinner party. He's acting out. He's crying for help.
Well,
This
he
is
also
bad.
psychologically, any boundary that has ever been
gone.
established in his mind is gone.
Gone.
I feel like the primary boundary is your parents and
Mhm.
sexuality. Like
Yeah.
that is a black and white, that is a boundary.
But they
period.
already were blurring that boundary. They've been blurring that
For a
boundary
long
for him his whole life.
It
I
is
know,
because
but
him
this
read
feels
the
like
Marquis
a-
de Sade.
Yeah.
But this feels like a crack. This feels like now there is no such thing as a boundary. Period.
Right.
There were
Across
a
the
lot
board.
of fissures, and then it just exploded.
Yeah, this isn't something that just all of a sudden a chemistry occurs and incest. It's like,
An
no,
incest
this is a
occurs.
gradual
right.
act of abuse.
Something
that
has to
then
be
culminates.
so fucking off for this to even
Yes.
occur.
Oh,
so
yeah.
much had to be wrong. So
Yeah.
much.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But of course, no wonder why he thinks that getting naked and walking around just to
Is appropriate behavior
no other
or
reason.
normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
He also
this poor
he enrolled in
baby.
art school, and then he would paint like graphic and disturbing imagery when like the assignment would be like paint a still life of fruit.
Sure, yeah. What do you do?
Can't shake that. You can't shake
Mm-mm.
having sex with your mother.
Mm-hmm. And also struggling with your own
sexuality
at a time when your actual healthy normal sexuality is not
blooming.
accepted.
Yeah.
Or should be
Yeah.
blooming.
Also, it wasn't even having sex with your mother. It was being molested and possibly raped by your mother.
Yes.
I mean, he was an adult, but yes, I mean, it's not okay. Like, are you ever really an adult with your parents? You know what I mean?
Well, there's
rape
no
is rape.
scenario where sex with your parent is not very highly damaging.
Yeah.
Completely,
and
yeah.
likely has to be coercive, which I don't know. Usually I could find nuances and gray areas and a lot of challenging concepts, but this is where I'm like, that always feels like rape to me, and I'm not okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
When friends expressed concerns to Barbara, she insisted that Tony was, quote, simply a misunderstood genius who was never meant to work and toil in this sick society.
Okay.
Lucy's face.
Okay.
And there is reason.
I just can't with this bitch.
I can't.
I can't with this cunt.
There is reason to believe that Barbara's sexual relationship, whatever it was, with her son did not end at Spain, in Mallorca.
What did not end at Spain.
Tony confided to a friend, quote, I am fucking my mother. I don't know what to do. I feel desperate.
Oh, so it's it's not just a one time, it's an ongoing.
That is what is believed, yes. I mean, he was still living at home and he was walking around naked and she didn't feel any guilt about it. And he's doing repeated cries for help and telling people that it's going on. All signs point to yes.
Oh, this is a bad one, even for you.
Yep. And then Tony's erratic behavior soon escalated to violence towards Barbara.
Mm-hmm. Natural next step in this kind of situation, honestly.
One night, he beat his mother unconscious with a wooden walking stick.
Oh.
That's brutal.
I don't know if there were any, I don't know if there was, an argument that led up to that or if she was caught off guard.
Sure.
I don't know. Barbara recovered, and then Tony was diagnosed with schizophrenia, which I don't feel is an accurate diagnosis.
But trauma can actually cause it. Because
really?
Because schizophrenia, there's actual, damage to your frontal lobe that completely changes the wiring of your brain that can be literally caused by, years-long exposure to trauma. So I think this is legitimate. He may not have had it as earlier, but you can develop it because of shit like this.
Oh.
But it can also just be a normal something
it
that
also
you're
tends
born
to
with.
manifest when you're about 25 too. So that's none of this surprises me, to be honest.
Okay.
But you can be schizophrenic without having physical or emotional trauma.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
It can be genetic or it can be I didn't know it could be induced by trauma. I
didn't either.
His doctor recommended that he be institutionalized, but claiming that she could not afford it and that his father would not help pay, which we also don't know if that's true or not. Barbara,
he probably was not privy to a lot of what is going on here now that he's run off with the girl from Ipanema or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, the girl from Ipanema. I think Barbara just didn't want Tony. I think she wanted Tony to be manacled.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Already stated
and it
as
really
much.
seems like she might be isolating them in such a way that outsiders don't necessarily know outside of what Tony has been his cries for help. But who knows what kind of relationship he even has with his dad at this point. His dad really might not know what the fuck is going on here.
Right.
Or the extent to which this shit's going down.
Right. I'm guessing Brooks didn't know.
He probably either didn't know or did kind of know on some level and just was
Ignored
pushing
it.
Push it down,
Right.
push it down.
Right.
Because
That'd
it's
be hard
so
to process.
fucked up.
Right. So Barbara did not get Tony help. Instead, she took him home with her. The two moved from New York to London, more isolation, and Tony's violent and unpredictable behavior continued to escalate. On one occasion, he smashed a raw egg in his mother's face during a dinner party.
I mean, I love it.
I mean,
That's a move.
it's abuse.
She deserved it.
Oh,
mean,
1,000%. She deserves a lot worse than
Gross display, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like everything we know about this relationship is coming from other people or what other people see
Yeah.
and what they confess in desperation to their friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Another time, he attempted to stab her in the eye with a pen. On another, he threatened her with a kitchen knife in front of guests while wearing only his underwear.
Oh, dear.
They just kept having dinner
It's getting
parties.
worse. Yeah.
Why would you
Stop
attend
having people
their dinner
over.
parties?
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question.
It's hard enough to host a dinner party when you're
Right?
not an abusive
Fucking
psychotic.
your child.
It's a lot of moving parts. That's a rough one.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yuck.
People who knew Barbara began to believe that it was only a matter of time before Tony killed her, but they probably didn't know why. They just thought Tony was fucked up.
Was
They
losing it.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She dismissed their concerns, claiming that her son would never actually hurt her.
Okay.
I
She
have a
thinks-
feeling we'll get to it.
But in July of 1972, Tony pushed his mother into oncoming traffic.
Oh.
She
There it is.
survived.
Of fucking course she did. Evil people have a force field.
Well.
And Tony was arrested for attempted murder, but Barbara refused to press charges and he was soon released back into her care.
Her
and
custody.
her home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much
It's
was
so messed up.
overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, they're both adults, so I get that there's only so much the authorities could do, but
It's just so sad
just
because this young
red
man was
flag
raised.
after red flag, like, not even
And
red
he was
flags,
raised
but,
in
like,
abuse.
straight up evidence.
He
Yeah.
was raised in abuse. And honestly, there's almost something Munchausen's
Oh,
by proxy
for
adjacent
sure. Oh,
to
yeah.
this. Where
Because
it's
mom
like,
is completely puppeteering this shit.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, my boy. And, you know, like she is the long-suffering, like mother with the violent.
Manacled to mummy.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this. I can't remember what episode it was, but it was like 4 stages or 4 different types of motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in the Daddy Crimes episode.
Yeah. She's in whatever category is most fucked up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Where like refusing to get your child help because you're the only one that can help them.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It really feels a lot like Munchausen, like a Munchausen adjacent
Yeah.
situation.
I mean, just like at the very least, some sort of imbalance of like the ego on her part.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 months after the pushed into oncoming traffic attempted murder incident, Tony did finally kill Barbara. He stabbed her with a kitchen knife and it killed her almost instantly.
Wow.
After killing her, he called the police, who arrived right away to find Tony, who is now 25 years old, at the scene. And he was on the phone in another room ordering Chinese food.
God bless him. When you're hungry, you're hungry.
He wanted one last meal, I guess.
That is so gross.
So
That is
fucked
exactly
up.
if I killed someone and
I would
knew,
also want Chinese. I want Chinese food right now.
if I
I'm going to
knew
order
they were
some later
coming
tonight
for
now that
me,
you mention it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be apprehensive about answering the door because it's either the police or my Postmates order.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, risk it.
I'd totally risk it.
Mm-hmm.
I want my Postmates.
I mean, but there's also like a huge disconnect. Like I get
Oh,
it.
for
I get
sure.
what you're saying, but there's like something so psychotic about that whole
Yeah.
thing.
He just
Yeah.
murdered somebody and now he's ordering food.
Oh, I'm hungry.
Yep.
But this poor guy's brain has
Yeah.
been completely destroyed
Trampled.
by the
Yeah.
people in his life. So nothing logical is going to be happening here now.
No, and I'm not necessarily blaming him as a human because he's obviously so damaged. But
But
like,
it's creepy as hell.
That's eerie as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's one more twist. Do
Oh,
not read
Jesus.
ahead. So Tony confessed to the murder. I mean, he turned himself in, basically. He'd called the cops on himself.
Finished his cream cheese wontons and then called the cops.
Yeah. And he was institutionalized for almost 8 years. So he didn't go to prison. He went to a institution.
Which is honestly, I think,
Yeah.
a better fit. That boy needs help.
Then, at 33 years old, he was released. He immediately flew to New York City, where he went to stay with his maternal grandmother, Nini.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Oh,
And
Nini.
Nini's
The
back.
back to the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And days later, he attacked her with a kitchen knife, stabbing her 8 times and breaking several bones.
What the fuck?
Did she live?
She survived.
Oh!
Don't move back in. Don't move in with your mom's mom after your mom fucked you up that bad.
Yeah,
just
don't
stay
imagine
away.
how triggering.
Yes, stay away from all of it.
Oh,
No.
But I think he
No.
had to be released into somebody's custody, I think. And Tony was then arrested for attempted murder and jailed at Rikers Island, where, while awaiting trial, he died by suffocation. He suffocated himself in his cell with a plastic bag, bringing the tragic and twisted saga of the Bakeland family to an end.
That's where your bags over the head thing came in.
Mm-hmm. I know, but it was too dark, so I said it earlier.
My God.
I couldn't make
said
a
it
joke
for
of
you.
it at the end.
Great.
This is really fucked. There's definitely a movie about this.
Super fucked up. So that's my case for Mom Crimes.
Great.
Wow.
Back to plastics.
Amanda's like literally speechless.
This episode, none of this was what I expected. So I love a story of a mom with a secret.
Oh, secretive man.
Secretive. And I also wanted to go in a slightly different direction with this one. I assumed this was going to be kind of a child abuse heavy episode. Did not see Kenyon's case coming.
I didn't see that level.
Nope.
Of
So
abuse.
I'm glad I went with this one, but it's not like it's not lighthearted or funny. So here we go.
Great.
So today I will regale you with the tale of Ethel Rosenberg.
Oh,
Ethel was born in the Lower East Side of Manhattan on September 28th. I don't think you know this case. I think you might think you know this case, but I don't think you know this case.
Is this not the Ethel Rosenberg?
Well, which Ethel Rosenberg are you talking about?
The spy?
Of the Rosenbergs?
Oh, then yes, it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's only two Rosenbergs, but yes. So Ethel was born in the Lower... Kenyon got it.
Yeah.
We'll see if this tracks with what you were thinking.
It does.
Lower East Side of Manhattan on September 28th, 1915, which is almost my birthday and only 2 years before Helen was born. She was the oldest child of Barney and Tessie Greenglass. And her father, who was an immigrant from Russia, also had a son from an earlier marriage. So the family all crowded together in a tenement apartment and later grew to include two brothers, Bernard and David. She was a wonderful student and a theater kid, girl after my own heart. Mm-hmm. And after graduating from Seward Park High School in 1930, she quickly found work at the National New York Packing and Shipping Company. Where she
work here now.
I love packing and shipping so much. And it's
I just love New York packing and shipping products.
I just love World War torn New York City so much. I work here now. And she made many friends and expanded her worldview both socially and politically. So the budding activist met the man who would become her husband while at a union rally, a man named Julius Rosenberg. Mm-hmm. They quickly discovered that they had aligning values that were considered communist, and these views grew quickly and dangerously as the Cold War progressed in the late 30s. So it wasn't long ago that the country was obviously in the middle of the Cold War paranoia, and any political conversations leaning toward communism in any way, or like communist sympathizing could be met with swift punishment and even death.
Yeah, this was like pre-Cold War
hysteria.
Socialist, Bolshevik
Yeah.
hysteria fears.
Well, it's like pre-World War II. It was like way
post-
before.
I mean,
Russian
it wasn't
Revolution.
way before, because this is the late 30s. They get married in the 40s and they go to trial in the early 50s. But it's like very much during that time in American history.
Right. But I
Right,
think like
which is-
the Cold War starts after World War II. But there were already these fears of socialism and communism
Which were
brewing
just stoked by the
ever
war
since,
and
yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
the Russian
And it
Revolution.
was pretty brutal in some cases. So this couple wed in 1939 and had two sons, Michael, And two sons, Michael in 1943 and Robert in 1947. And balanced.
They had two sons, Michael, born in
Michael.
1943.
Correct.
Michael and 1943.
They're two bouncing baby boys. And a third son, the symbol formerly known as Prince. So they balanced the raising of their family with their social and economic activism within the working class. But as the Cold War surged on and 1950 approached, Ethel and Julius came under the watchful eye of the government. Around this time, Julius was in conversations with Ethel's younger brother, David Greenglass, and allegedly began feeding David information that was then being passed to the Soviets through connections that the family still had in Russia. So Julius kind of planted this seed, and the seed began to grow between him and David. And David was a perfect mule for the passing of information back and forth because he had enrolled in the United States Army and was specifically assigned to work on the Manhattan Project on a base in New Mexico.
Whoa.
Yep.
He had some access to some
He did.
shit.
He was a machinist working on the A-bomb.
Damn.
So he was right there. So just a quick and dirty history refresher from history.com. The Manhattan Project was the code name for the American-led effort to develop a functional atomic weapon during World War II. The controversial creation and eventual use of the atomic bomb engaged some of the world's leading scientific minds, as well as the U.S. military. And most of the work was done in Los Alamos, New Mexico, which is where David Greenglass was based. And not in the borough of New York City, for which it was originally named. The Manhattan Project was started in response to fears that German scientists had been working on a weapon using nuclear technology since the 1930s, and that Adolf Hitler was prepared to use it. So it was like, we were in all these weird races anyway at this time in terms of like weaponry, technology, and intelligence.
It was a weird time.
Right.
It was just, everybody was on edge.
And Russia switched sides during World War II.
Yeah.
They started as an Axis power or ally and then switched. So
It's hard for me to follow exactly like political turns during this time because everybody is so like wishy-washy, and then we have a war here, and then like a not technically a war, but like definitely a war on this side, and like
It was an odd time to be
Let's
alive.
go
Couldn't
on.
even keep my damn tiara. So while David was involved in this project, he would disclose top secret information about its progress and development to Julius and allegedly Ethel. Ethel, as far as we knew at the time, using her skill set as a working woman, would then type the notes that were to be delivered to the Soviets through the Greenberg's channels. Or, not Greenberg's, Greenglasses. My autocorrect is the worst. So this system did not last long without being detected, however. As it turns out, David was not the only one sneaking info out of the Manhattan Project location in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where he was stationed. Another participant in the Manhattan Project was a man named Klaus Fuchs, a
Klaus
British...
fucks.
he zero
fucks.
oh, he fucks.
He fucks. Klaus Fuchs. A British physicist who was born in Germany. Klaus and David were working independently of each other, but they shared the same connection who was delivering their information to the Soviets, a man named Harry Gold. So the FBI had their eye on Harry Gold, Kerry Gold butter, for some time.
The best butter.
It's the best butter. It's my favorite butter. And finally caught him in the act in May of 1950. Gold immediately pointed the finger at the lower level operative, David Greenglass. So with this information, Julius, David, and another accomplice, who we'll get to, and Ethel were all charged with conspiracy to commit espionage in 1950. So in all honesty, other than being told that Ethel was typing the messages, there was no evidence that actually linked Ethel's involvement in any of this to this group of people, other than the fact that she was Julius's husband and David said she was typing up these messages, right? So many critics of this case to this day, and we will get to it, believe that Ethel was used as a bargaining chip to get Julius to confess to more spy-level shit, because Julius was definitely doing some shit.
And so they thought that if they implicated Ethel, Julius would be
He'd
like,
roll
no,
over.
not her, but
Yep.
I did this.
Yep. But if that was the government's angle, it did not work because the couple refused to rat on each other and staunchly maintained their innocence. David, however, won the Shitty Brother Award when the case went to trial in 1951. In exchange for a lighter sentence, which consisted of 10 years behind bars and his wife Ruth left completely out of the whole thing, he threw them under the bus. And even though he was the fucking one working on the A-bomb and sneaking that intel out of the U.S. Army, like, for fuck's sake, he just put the fall on Julius and Ethel. And
he only got 10 years behind bars for that.
10 years behind bars, that's it. I know.
That's really light.
So in order to get the deal, like, of this much more lenient sentence, he testified against Julius and Ethel at their trial in 1951. And this trial was set up to put these folks away from the start.
Yeah.
With the judge himself opening proceedings with the line, quote, "The evidence will show that the loyalty and alliance of the Rosenbergs and Sobel," so Sobel is the third accomplice, "were not to our country, but that it was to communism."
Oh, so
that's
a
how
nice
he opened the
impartial
trial.
judge from the beginning.
Oh, he gets so much worse. Like,
But
we'll
also,
get to it.
like, communism. Ugh. I can't understand. Like, there's like a Soviet allegiance aspect, but then just like, I don't know. I feel like communism was just thrown the fuck around so much.
I mean,
during
it's
this
definitely
time. It's just
gotten a reputation as being like a fear-mongering buzzword. Communism is not good. Like, if you look at the structure of it, it often does not go well. But I feel like this
in
got
theory,
subject
not
to
so much, but like in
a lot of
practice,
human
yeah.
error.
Yes.
No, yeah.
And it got overhyped stateside, and people died because of it.
Yeah.
And we
Clearly.
will get to it. Yeah. I mean,
when was Senator McCarthy doing shit?
It's like
right
early
around
50s,
like,
wasn't it?
Like this.
it had to have been
was-
right around this time because it was like he was building up notoriety between the two world wars, right? And then didn't he
McCarthy's
come into more power?
Late 40s through the 1950s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're deep in
it's
this
that.
era. Yeah. This
At
is
the same time, like spying for another country.
Oh, it's bad.
Is bad.
I am not.
Super
I am
bad.
defending Ethel, and we'll get to it. I am not defending Julius, but what
Ethel didn't do shit, though,
she
did
didn't,
she?
but and we'll get to it. But
I've always thought of them in the same breath, like they were like a duo. They were a pair. They were the Americans.
I want you to
that's
think.
not so much the situation. But what befell them was not an act of justice. It was
No. Yeah.
It was
What
bad.
befell Ethel
Yes.
was not justice.
Exactly. So, David Greenglass and Harry Gold's testimony, so David the brother and Harry the mule, the message mule, their testimony was damning, and it was the entire backbone of the case. Their testimony was everything. There was really no other evidence in this case except this. So David claimed that Julius and Ethel had been working to recruit him starting in 1944 and that he reluctantly agreed. Harry alleged in court that he had met David in New Mexico in 1945. This part is like so ridiculous. And that David had approached him with the agreed upon password of "I come from Julius." And confirmed his
I
identity.
come from Orange Julius.
Well, it's funny that you say
Don't
that
we
because
all?
then he had to confirm his identity with like an agreed upon item that he was told, bring this item and like say this password and show this item. Right? So, no, I wish, but close. So he confirmed his identity by presenting a cut off Jell-O box top.
No.
Which, like, was the agreed upon secret item to bring to the meeting and is, like, the most 1940s, like, post-war shit ever. Like, I come from Julius, and here's my Jell-O box top. My box
Orange
tops for kids.
Julius.
I wish.
Yes. Now I want Chinese food and Jell-O.
I do, too. Let's make this happen.
Oh, we'll just
So-
get like orange chicken.
Yeah, it's
kind of
basically
the
both.
same.
Yeah.
It's
got
Jell-O
that granular,
marinated
like
chicken.
chunky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, this is at this meeting, Harry said he made a payment of $500 to David in exchange for secrets about the bomb. David also testified, that Ethel transcribed his written notes and sketches. So he would take all these notes when he's working on the bomb, bring them to Julius. He said Ethel was typing them up and making them all neat and tidy, giving them back, and then he was taking them to Harry Gold, and Harry Gold was getting them to the Soviets on the Russian side. And so before this testimony comes in, the state, like I said, had nothing on Ethel and likely would have just kind of
ignored her.
Maybe like given her a slap on the wrist and sent her
well,
home.
It was all everybody just saying that Ethel participated. They didn't have any evidence that she did.
She likely would have gone home to raise her 2 sons while her husband took the brunt of this punishment. But the prosecution jumped on that testimony and leaned into it super fucking hard. Quote, prosecutor Irving H. Saypool leapt all over this account, dramatically telling the jury how she sat at the typewriter and struck the keys blow by blow against her own country in the interests of the Soviets. So that's a quote from court.
You know what? No.
Dramatic.
Chill.
Okay, sir, your pants.
Yeah. Sir, your pants.
Your editorialization.
Yeah, it's a little much. So when she and her husband finally did take the stand, they denied all of the charges, but throughout most of the questioning, they pled the 5th. And this tactic, whether on the advice of their counsel or just their own decision-making, was definitely a mistake to just plead the 5th on all these questions. Because this essentially sent the message to the jury, like, we did it by just staying silent. That's how the jury took it. And unfortunately,
that's not supposed to be
I know it's not supposed to be that way, but when you're already in the midst of all of this communist fear from the Cold War, then you have a court proceeding opened by a judge who's feeding into that, with a prosecution that's feeding into that, I feel like they were fucked
Jewish,
either way.
Right? So there's definitely some anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
It's just they had everything stacked against them in this situation. So whether or not they pled the 5th, I don't think would have made a huge difference, but it certainly did not help. So after a trial that lasted barely a month, the jury returned with guilty verdicts for Julius and Edith and the 3rd accomplice.
Ethel.
Oh, sorry. Ethel, yes. So the true shock, however, would come at sentencing. So the judge, who had made his position very fucking clear from the outset of the trial, sentenced the parents to death, saying, quote, I consider your crimes worse than murder.
Yeah, they
were killed.
Your fucking role, dude. God damn it. Seriously.
They were executed because of this.
I know.
And as for Sobel, the 3rd accomplice, who was also found guilty, who did not have 2 young children at home, he got 30 years in prison and got to live. So this sentence...
Just to play devil's advocate, and these 2, I mean, they did not receive a fair trial at all. They did not receive a fair trial. But, I mean, passing along information about the deadliest weapon that humanity had ever created.
No. You've made that clear, and I do not condone this. And like I said, Julius did this. And that dude does, like, I don't necessarily think Julius didn't see the hand of justice. I'm only focusing on Ethel in this situation because I think she very well may have known what was going on, but I don't think she was as involved.
Maybe she did know.
As she was made out to be.
For fuck's sake.
And I think she got kind of fucked over in this situation.
I think she super got fucked over.
I kind of disagree. I kind of think like she knew that she was being involved in spying, and she was, I mean, whether or not she was just typing up messages, she knew those were messages that were being sent.
Well,
like,
I'm not
fine.
a proponent of the death penalty and don't think that these 2 should have been executed. So we can agree to disagree on that, I guess. But I don't think she got what she deserved in this scenario.
2020 retrospect, she should have left his ass and taken her children somewhere safer from this situation.
Absolutely.
I think that they both had, I just think that trying to defend her in this situation is kind of taking away her agency, and it's kind of patronizing almost to be like, oh, well, she was a woman and all she was doing was like typing or whatever, when both of them had an ideology that they were following. We think that ideology was misguided.
Sure, but I also haven't finished yet.
Okay.
and there is more information.
Okay. I'm not
That
arguing with you. I'm
guides
I'm
my thought
discussing.
process on it.
Yeah.
Because if it's coming down to, oh, she was just a woman and she was just typing, sure, but there's more to it than that.
Okay.
So he gets 30 years in prison, and this sentence sent many influential people around the country reeling. The fact that the Rosenbergs were sentenced to death, with figures like Pope Pius XII and Albert fucking Einstein coming forward to like beg the state to at least stay their executions and allow them to just serve their sentences in prison instead.
Mm-hmm.
And their young children, led by Michael, who was only 10 at the time, and Robert, only 6, like marched, protested. There's photos on the drive of like all these people saying like, don't put them to death. And hand-delivered a letter to the White House in the hopes that Truman or Eisenhower would use their power to save his parents. But for every person who spoke out against the sentence, there was an equal number out for blood, praising the judge's ruling in an era where many did see communist ties as a crime equal to or worse than murder, which is that's where my division really sits. Is
I'm not
don't
for
believe
the
in the
death
death
penalty either.
And I think that there's responsibility there. But let me keep going just for another minute before then you can break it down as much as you want. Just let me get through this last paragraph. So the nation was truly split, but the legal appeals and famous figures were not enough. Ethel and Julius were executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing on June 19th, 1953. Their sons went to live with family friends and soon were adopted by them and given their names. And they still fight to this day for their parents. And in 2016, they did go to the White House to talk to President Obama before he left. Quote, the brothers returned to the northwest gate of the White House with another letter and a petition with more than 40,000 signatures addressed to President Obama based on years of mounting evidence that their mother was not involved in the conspiracy, including the unsealing in 2015 of David Greenglass's grand jury testimony in which he made no mention of his sister. And the brothers are fighting for their mother to be posthumously exonerated. And as it turns out, in 1995, the NSA released a half-century-old trove of decrypted Soviet messages from the Venona Project, which provided clear evidence of Julius's espionage. So he absolutely was part of it, which, again, didn't argue that from the beginning.
But also a lot of people did. Like, a lot of people at the time thought that they were innocent.
I don't ever question that Julius did this shit.
Right.
But
a lot of people did for a long time.
Which is fair.
Right. A lot of people for a long time thought that because their trial was such a travesty of justice, people thought that they were actually both innocent.
Mm-hmm. And maybe because they were Jewish.
You're right, exactly.
People were like, of course they'd be the scapegoats.
Exactly. So
clearly, evidence does suggest at this point that he was involved.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
But didn't include Ethel. And a tell-all book published the same year held a confession from Ethel's brother David that he lied on the stand about her involvement to save himself, and that his wife Ruth was actually the one who was typing the notes, not Ethel at all.
Well, then that is fucked. Because then
that's why I was like, don't defend this too much because I have more to get to. Let me have a salacious moment. So in 2008, Sobel, the third accomplice who only got 30 years, also went on record to confess to his and Julius's involvement with the Soviets, and that he insisted that Ethel was guilty only of being Julius's wife.
Well, so then that's very fucking sneaky of David and bullshit.
Yep. And David's
Ruth.
A piece of shit. Really fucked his sister over. That's what I mean, like, worst brother award. He literally got his sister killed because he wanted to save his own fucking neck.
And his
wife's neck.
Yeah. But
and
his
that's some
wife,
fucked up shit.
Then Ruth was implicated in espionage and should have been tried.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I also don't think that this is so intertwined that we might not ever know what actually happened because there's so much political weight on the facts of this case.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even Obama is like, I'm not touching this because when they went to him with this petition and like all of this support to exonerate Ethel, Obama declined. I don't think anybody wants to touch any of this and just like let it. It's done.
I mean, think about a marriage and think about a relationship and like, I guess some marriages you don't know what your spouse is doing, but in a good marriage, you should know what your spouse is doing and getting up to. And so you would be aware and you would know.
This is also the early 50s.
I have no way to know. None of us have any way to know how much she knew.
Right.
There's literally no way to know.
There's no way to know.
But the truth is, regardless of what she knew,
That David
she
said.
got fucked in this situation hardcore.
and her children
now-
got fucked.
Yeah, completely
because
fucked.
they grew up without parents.
Mm-hmm. And now all these years later, when these sentences have already been carried out and David's sentence has already been served, his measly sentence.
Is he out? Is he alive?
I don't know if he's alive now. But
He's
at least
probably not
in the
alive
late
by now.
90s, early aughts, he was alive and making these confessions.
Yeah.
And it's like, they can't go back and charge him again. It's done. Now he can just fucking
I wonder
say,
when
yeah,
Ruth died.
I shoved my sister under a bus. I'm not sure, but Ethel got the short fucking end of the straw on this situation. Big
It
time.
was
Not good.
Not a good time to be Jewish. When is it a good time?
But also, like, especially during the Cold War, having this high-profile electric chair execution.
It
like,
was totally.
These two were held up as a
We're the swift hand of
horrible-
justice against espionage and communism. Like, they were made
They
an
were
example.
made
of.
an example of.
Yes, and that I think that's the real tragedy here is because normally if you were to say like Ethel Rosenberg, people would be like, "Oh, that communist spy." It's like, no, that's not how this went down at
Right.
all. It's just
And, you know,
her legacy is tragic,
tarnished.
honestly. Yeah.
I mean, and because we didn't actually get to the bottom of all of the details of what actually happened because the trial was so sensationalized and so clearly tilted,
Right.
we'll never really get a chance. And again, I'm not coming in here defending like any of this shit because it's fucked up and none of this should have happened. But I am going to say I really don't know how much she actually knew, and they were definitely made an example of by the government and killed at the hands of the state to send a message.
Yeah.
And yet
And
again,
that's not justice.
whoever decides to just rat first
Right.
gets the good
Wins.
deal.
Yep.
And it's
Like
not
David and Julius
fair.
were
It's not-
arguably the worst offenders in this situation.
doesn't-
And yes, Julius was put to death, but fucking David should have been at the
David
gallows
got
right
10
there with him.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fucked up about our system.
It's some
That
bullshit.
it's like, oh, you want to confess first and throw other people under the bus,
I
even
also
though that
feel
might
like it-
not be the actual truth.
It creates these exact scenarios, though, too, where David's like, well, shit, this is serious shit. I could be killed. I'm going to stick my neck out and I'm going to quote unquote confess first. But he fucking lied to save himself. So that's not justice either. And that's not truth. And we've created a system that allows people to be like, well, every man for himself. I'm not going to fucking go down for this. And what you say on the stand just gets to be the foundation of this of the majority of this case, at least against Ethel, not against Julius, but against Ethel.
Right.
And now here we fucking are 50 years later, like still getting new information that from sealed government documents that's like, it might not have really happened that way. And that fucking sucks. Yeah.
Ooh, I want to find this Ruth.
Find
I'm
Ruth.
on a mission.
So that's my
job.
case.
Wow.
Fucking
Lot to
yikes.
unpack there.
We went for it. What
We
a weird
did.
episode.
Really weird.
So
But-
it's a very manic episode.
It was all over the place.
It was.
But there were
All right.
twists, there were turns, there was mother loving, there was murder, there was espionage.
There was motherfucking.
I didn't want to say that.
Well,
but
big thank you to these motherfuckers. Thank you, Olivia Windorf
Oh no.
and her amazing
Ellen.
mom, Ellen.
and her
Oh.
motherfucking mom, Ellen. God bless her.
Jesus.
No matter what, you didn't screw up your kids as much as any of the people in our cases did.
Yeah.
As far as
So,
we know.
As far
cheers
as
to
we
that.
know.
I mean, you
All
must have done okay
Abuse
if Olivia.
thrives in the shadows. Okay.
Yikes. See you
Olivia
next
dedicating
week.
an episode. You think it's okay.
Jesus
Maybe. I don't know.
Christ.
Blink twice if you need help. We love you.
Goodbye.
Bye.